I know that a lot of the expats were coming down to Ecuador and spending money on other people's property because they didn't like the property. They wanted, for example, they would put in new kitchen counters on someone else's property, which was just, to me, it's mind-boggling, because then when you move out, you're just dumping money. And I know there's videos out there too. These are all just come-on videos. I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag. They're come-on videos because they tell people...
Hello and welcome to our Retire Early lifestyle in small town USA, fixing up an old house without a pile of cash.
So for those of you that have been keeping up on our fixing up an old house without a pile of cash, also known as Retire Early lifestyle, I'm going to give you an update here on what I'm doing on the roof. I'm going to give you some insights into some of the things that are being promoted for this kind of work, that whether they're working, what's not working. And by the way, people they're not going to get you. Retire Early lifestyle, when they hear the word retire, they're thinking that just everything you say, some people won't get it. They just aren't going to get it. They don't understand that you've been living a free life, a balanced life, without a 9-to-5 commitment, without having to have the stress of million-dollar businesses and all this kind of thing like that, which not everybody is, not everybody is able to be successful that way. For every success story you hear, there's, I'm sure, oodles and dozens of business startups that failed. You hear that within 5 years, 80% of small businesses fail. Well, where do those people go? They keep trying, sure, but at some point, you got to live your life. You can't, put 14 hours a day trying to get rich. Read the book of Proverbs. It has something to say about that. Here's the thing that I'm going to tell you. Remember that I started out sealing the roof? Because remember, we're frugalist, minimalist. We enjoy our life every day, so it's okay to do a little bit of work. And it's actually okay to do as much work as you feel like. Nobody has to judge you on what you do, what you don't do. This is something I choose on my own to do, and I don't have to answer to anyone but myself. So what I did is I started out, you see that white right there, that's that sealant I started out with. And the literature online says that, also known as vloggers, that he put this stuff on here and supposedly it lasts for years. Now, I was skeptical, but I thought, well, if I could buy myself some time and not have to, dislodge all the capital for a whole roof, this would be good, because I just got here. I just got the house, blah, blah, blah. There's so much work to do on it. It's 100 years old and needs a lot of work. So you can't just sit here and, if you sit here and try and tackle everything at once, you're going to empty your purse. You may have other goals. Maybe you want to take the winter off and go travel, So anyway, just to get to what we're doing here, I started out with that sealant. It did hold up for about 5 months, okay? Then it started leaking. Now, I have to say this, you do have people on, the vlogging that say, yeah, I put it on there, it's still not leaking. It very well could be that because they did the entire roof, they didn't get any leaking. But the reason with me on this, though, over here on the left, what we're looking at right now is where the two big holes in the ceiling were. This is where I gave it several coats of the sealant. And I thought, well, maybe I can get through the winter with this sealant. It didn't make it to the fall. It is fall, started leaking. We got the rains. You see here, this is what I'm talking about. I'm using it as a patching basis. I thought, well, if $200, if it can last me a year or so, buy me some time, that'd be good. Good investment. But what happened is in 5 months it started leaking. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to sit here and just throw good money after bad. This should have held up. I put several coats on there. I followed the instructions. I put the 2 coats and then I put 2 more coats. Anyway, I'm not a roofing specialist, but I try to figure things out on my own. And so I've got this side here. I've got the roof. I decided to go ahead and do the roof, the metal roof, in segments. So I've got 1/3. I've got this third over here on the left. Then you've got this third on the right. And then behind me, we got the other third. So that's 3/3. I thought, well, here, why don't I just do this third, metal roof it, where the big huge leaks and the ceiling were and the holes were. So that's what I'm doing, and I've been doing a little bit as I feel like it, because remember, I'm recuperating from 13 years prison sentence, endemic area. Come on, it wasn't that bad, was it? I know what you're thinking. Come on, Frank, it wasn't that bad, was it? No, I mean, it was, some prisons are really comfortable and some aren't. I'm just cracking some jokes here. But I've got more than half of that on there, and now I'm doing the valley part, and the really time-consuming and intricate part of this work is cutting into the valley, because you got to cut the sheets like this into the valley. And I just really love it, these people that tell you specifically in detail. You got these people that come on here and they cut their metal. They don't tell you anything. They don't say what blade they're using, nothing. It's like they assume you're already a carpentry middle level, So this one guy said, well, you get the metal diamond wheel, because I use the grinder tool to cut the metal, and it's a rough cut, and so that's what I got, and it does the cutting. The roofing place is like a 6-hour drive, which is just excruciating, and so we got what we could, but of course they didn't have some things, so they didn't have all of the valley, so I had to make valley myself. So that's what I did. I cut some sheeting here and made some valley. You can see nobody comes up here, and it doesn't make any difference whatsoever how you make your valley. And so yeah, they didn't have everything. They also didn't have all the ridge caps, so I had to make do with that too. So I got that vent that kind of threw me for a loop. It didn't really turn out as I had hoped. I was a little bit lumpy there, but again, I don't think the birds are going to be singing about that vent. All right, well, that's the thing I'm trying to get done before the fall rains come in, and before we start getting leaks all over again through the ceiling that I just patched a couple of months ago. All right, so let's get to it. And I don't know if I should say that we take owning property for granted, because a lot of people go abroad and buy property. But a lot of people rent too. You're always told to go abroad and rent. And you're at the mercy of a foreign landlord, which are always trying to get as much as they can out of you. And half the time the places are not really up to par, and they're not maintained, or unless they're just price gouging you to the moon. But yeah, so a lot of times you try to go to a local level, and if it's too touristy, it's just really harder and harder to do, And all of these places, as time goes on, are getting too touristy to the extreme, to the point where locals get upset now. They're upset at foreigners and Americans. They just don't want you anymore. So that's how bad things get. And we were predicting this 12 years ago when we first went abroad. We were predicting all these things. We've made so many videos about why you shouldn't go somewhere, because it's being promoted, and because what it's going to do to the place, and what's going to end up happening, and you're going to end up leaving. And as we've said before, fixing the house, it gives you something to do. We've sat, in foreign apartments and went to the beach and walked around, and after you've done that, then what? We don't promote a retirement. We don't believe in retirement per se. Someone that has worked all the way till 70 is obviously tired of working, but generally speaking, the retire early crowd, there's been successful people that retire early with lots of money, and they get tired of it. They get tired of doing nothing. We have never promoted the retire early lifestyle. Is not about doing nothing. It's about having a balanced life. And so that's why we're not really interested in going abroad and having a $250 house just so we can do nothing. Just because we can go for a walk for an hour a day, and then when you're done, there's nothing left to do. So being able to plan out what the house is going to look like. Angie loves being able to pick out the colors for the for the cabinets, the kitchen cabinets, just little things like that. It's just another thing that you do. That I've always enjoyed puttering around the house, fixing this or that, and spending the amount of time that I decide to spend on it. You know, there's no pressure to have to, other than making the place livable. It's not a full-time job at all, not even a part-time job. It's something to do that's enjoyable. Well, we all know what it's like to own property. You get to make decisions on what you want the property, how you want it to serve your needs. And that's always enjoyable to be able to do that, something that you can't really do with rentals. And I know that a lot of the expats were coming down to Ecuador and spending money on other people's property because they didn't like the property. They wanted, for example, they would put in new kitchen counters on someone else's property, which was just, to me, it's mind-boggling, because then when you move out, you're just dumping money. And I know there's videos out there too. These are all just come-on videos. I'm just going to I'll let the cat out of the bag. They're come-on videos because they tell people, oh, look what I've done, but it's the ability for everyone else that's watching the video, or not even everyone else, even a small number of people that are watching the video, to be able to replicate what's being done in the video. Like, for example, the title might be how I live in Mexico on less than $1,000, or my rent's $300 or something. Well, then you find out that the reason that's that way is because they got a place that was really substandard, but they've spent a couple of $1,000s remodeling it, and then they factored that into a long-term lease, like a 5-year lease. You amortize the $2,000 over 5 years, and it's only an extra, $100 a month on your rent, but you get a place that's remodeled, and you started out with a super substandard place that was dirt cheap, and that's how they ended up. But everybody can't do that. Even if only 10 people show up in a town, wherever, Ecuador, Mexico, even if just 10 people, which it's way more people than that show up. But even if just 10 people showed up and try to find these kind of substandard places, dumpy places to fix, then they'll be all gone. Then the next 10 people won't find any. So that's not sustainable, what's being promoted. But this is sustainable because America is so big. I've always said it's way bigger than a lot of these little countries that are being promoted. And just this high number of people that are funneled into these little countries. That's in essence what the picture is of why it doesn't last and it doesn't work. But America is so big, there are so many states, there are so many cities, and there's so many little towns that just about anybody can find a livable fixer within their price range. I'm not saying you have to do it the way we did it. There's plenty of fixers that you can get, and you would have to have, and it's not about like where we bought the fixer, because again, based on your budget, you can go just about any state, and there's other price ranges. We've mentioned before in videos, price ranges can be under 50, it can be under 100, depending on where you want to live. So you have a lot more choices going on.